I think something that's come up a lot lately that other people have talked about, I see it in the news, it's definitely a hot topic, is PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. I think some people are advocating for the dropping of the D and it's just post traumatic stress, right? And then we try to talk more about,
Could be growth, it could be
yeah, post
disorder.
traumatic growth, right? Like trying to, whatever that looks like. But I think when we think of PTSD, I think there's a lot of people out there that instantly go to the event and associate more with military veteran,
Major
went to
traumatic
war.
event, yeah.
Yes. And you and I were talking about law enforcement, rescue, dispatch,
Yeah.
Corrections is the death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, you know, the traumatic stress is more of a process rather than an event. It's
Yes.
the day-to-day process that you're in is so stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So many, you know, contact points. The average person deals with one or two a year.
Right.
They're dealing with one or two an hour.
Yes.
In a lot of cases,
Mm-hmm.
right? And your body physically begins to change.
Yes. Here's where I geek out again, right? Because our bodies are designed to respond to stress in a certain way. Mm-hmm. We're designed to manage things in a certain way, and it's to have it spaced out over time, right? It is not to be warrior all of the time, but instead to have this spaced out over time. So if we look at a baby breathing, their stomach, not their chest, their stomach rises and falls. However, as we grow and experience stress and trauma, we start to take shorter breaths, and it's in our chest instead. Well, what that does is starts to change our nervous system.
Yeah.
When we have constant exposure to stress, and I think this is an interesting piece, and this is where we treat veterans different than law enforcement. Is veterans go and they have, you know, a 6 month, a year of straight stress, then they have to adjust back for a bigger period of time. And that is still hard, and I'm not trying to say that it's not, but it is much different than our law enforcement and corrections, etc., that have this 3 shifts in a row and then 2 days off, and then all of a sudden they also have overtime, so they have 5 shifts in a row, and it's constant. It doesn't give the nervous system time to adjust back down. Their baseline changes and their body starts to adapt, their brain starts to adapt. If this is my new normal, everything else has to change. And truthfully, that actually changes what we pass on to our children, and their normal is different.
So really, just like our bodies are designed to
adapt.
So
and evolve.
If I were to say to you, you know, I was hiding around the corner and I went boom, and you came around, you'd be startled. You'd have kind of a stress response, but then you'd be like, oh, you got me.
Yeah.
And then your body would begin to adapt.
Correct.
And it would there's a process to resettle that back down. But if that's constantly going up, and now there's not enough time for that to resettle,
correct,
you're missing out. You're inching up,
and my off 24 hours is not enough to bring
to come
me
down
back down.
and reset.
Right. I mean, if you're a single dude or gal and you go home to just like your cat or your dog, you might have time to come down part of the way, but then let's add coming home to a family and chaos and stress and those things.
Normal,
I mean, there is, and that's just life. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's still stress, and it's still, we're not coming
You're into
down.
a different type of stress,
But it's still there.
The bills and all the different things that just happen normal in life, right?
Correct.
So you've got that normal you're talking about starts to get further and further away.
Yes.
From who you once were. And why you went into that profession, and why you pay the price you do Okay?
Yes.
And it begins to change who you are actually.
Yes.
And that is a pathway that can lead to what we call moral injury.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
it is saying
Yes.
who I once was, I'm not that person, and there's certain things I don't care about anymore.
And it feels like a part of you is dying.
Yes. Yes.
And it is not a good feeling, and it becomes very empty.
It's an injury.
Right, because now I hear it so often, I just don't feel emotion.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the product of moral injury, of not allowing your nervous system to come back down, to settle. But we have all these pressures, right? Well, we're understaffed and we're being forced in, or well, we need the extra money, so I'm picking up that overtime. Command doesn't, are you sick? Is someone dying? You can't have off. You were just off. Or, and that stigma and all of those things that get in the way of it, listening to our body when we're like, oh, I can't. I need to pause. I don't need to power through. I need to pause.
Yeah. Yeah. So then if you stay in that injury for weeks, months, years,
decades,
right? Every single person is affected by that differently because we're different people, right?
Absolutely.
We're built different. It's like if you saw an earthquake and one building crashes down, but one sways, but one that was just getting built in the process, well, it half falls down, right? So it depends where people are at in their process. So that's why you as a doctor, you work with each individual and how that is addressing that specific person. There's no cookie cutter.
No, there's
right?
not a one size fits all. I think a lot of people are like, okay, what is this, doc? What's this gonna look like to just heal me and fix me? And like, first of all, we're not fixing.
Yeah.
We're renovating.
Yeah.
This is a growth, but also it depends on so many factors. What are you willing to come and be an open book and trust the process, or are you gonna fight me on it, man?
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna fight me on it, you might want to take a pause until you're ready to listen.
Right.
But right, so this moral injury, and I think there's not enough conversation about it. Our departments aren't talking.
They're in it.
Yeah.
And it's growing.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to come out sideways sooner or later.
Well, and we talk about brains liking patterns and brains linking up. So once you have a shift of half of your people are suffering a moral injury, well, those brains that are not quite there yet are going to shift there.
Yes.
And now we have an entire shift. Yep.
Yeah.
And because we're not stepping in and intervening. And one thing that I hear so much is that there's a stigma where law enforcement feels like, or corrections or dispatch or rescue, fire, feel like they are not equal to military serving their country and being at war, that there is a guilt or a shame in saying, I am not well, this has bothered me.
So that's a big part, and that may be the takeaway for this whole thing is step in to identifying what moral injury is going on in your own life, in those around you, in your agency, because it is happening. And it's the pathway to traumatic stress issues that you're going to deal with.
And if we have somebody who's in a command leadership position in these agencies and departments listening, I hope you are avoiding and not addressing this through some sort of a wellness program, through acceptance, education, etc. The cause is catastrophic for your agency, your shifts, and your community, because when people are in moral injury or close to, they have more sick days. They have more errors on the job. They have more complaints. You're going to have more IAs. You're going to have more internal conflict. You're going to have all of these things that cost you money and time, and you have to remedy. And I hate to say it, but that's where admin and budgeting goes, is where's the win. But when we invest in our boots on the ground, in a wellness program to address moral injury and PTS and provide the right supports at the moment and consistently, without judgment, without stigma, without correct,
it's just part of the culture, right?
What exactly? Then you do have less sick days, so you have less overtime, you have less IAs, you have
become clear.
It's so clear, and when you do it right, I have seen departments reduce their cost, whether it's financial, time, etc., on those things by 50% in a year.
Wow.
That is a hell of a turnaround.
That's incredible.
Think of the cool tactical shit you can get with that much time and money if you're doing it right.
Yeah. So you think about this. The alternative is maybe that old school thought of don't talk about it, it'll go away.
Oh, that's the worst.
Because what that does is that
silence, isolation.
And that, for some people, is going to drive them to saying, you know what, it would be better to just end this.
Yes.
And that's where that comes from. And that's why those numbers skyrocket. Because that answer is not acceptable. Right. There is proof, research shows it everywhere. Don't talk about it and it'll go away. It will not work.
No, the way it goes away is they end their life.
That's right.
And then it creates a whole other
massive problem and a massive. So the thing is,
that's never the solution.
Step into it and know that every one of your officers, whether they're corrections, EMS, whoever, anybody involved in that line of work, public safety, they're on a pathway and moral injury is happening. Some at a greater speed than others.
Absolutely.
But if you can have proactive wellness programs in place, it will begin to address that and reverse it before it gets irreversible.
Absolutely. And I was just having a conversation with a department this week when I was doing an in-service, because we were talking about, and they asked such good questions. If you're listening, thank you for asking such good questions. Because they said, after we had an OIS, we're supporting these officers and getting ready to return back to work. What can we do differently to be more sensitive and understanding? Thank you. Love you. Bring me more, right? And then and then I asked a question of, you have this peer support program. What are the barriers in people using it? And we had a wonderful conversation, but what it comes down to is, the goal is, I say every day, my goal is to work myself out of a job. Because what that means is everybody is happy, healthy, productive, whatever, they can get their needs met, not from me. Sounds glorious. It'll never happen, but it's a dream. Pipe dream, right?
Right.
But the idea is to change our culture within these departments to be able to do that. Ideally, we don't need to have a specific peer support team. We don't need to have a specific wellness program, because hopefully it just changes the culture. It is.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to expect that a peer support person is going to come up and intentionally ask me how I'm doing after this event.
Awkward, fake
Somebody else who I'm probably more connected with is going to start the conversation.
Tools and the resources and the trust.
Absolutely.
To step in and say, that was really hard what you had to do today. Let's talk about it.
And not, oh, that guy's solid.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
Because I hear that way too often, and that's a really good way to watch me flip on you.
Yep. Exactly.
Because, and I explained that this week in the in-service, is what we're telling that solid person is, I know that you already show up to work and give your all every day and you lead by example, but now you have the expectation further that you can't falter, have feelings, be scared.
You can't fail.
You cannot, and guess what? They go, all right, I got to double down, and then eventually they can't double down anymore.
That's right. That's right. You set them up for failure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a short and quick synopsis of moral injury,
Yeah.
and it's the pathway to PTSD. But there's a culture shift that can happen in an agency to alleviate that and to mitigate what can happen there. So you've got great people. You hire the best people you can. They have great hearts, and to see that be wasted away through moral injury, and they're not who they once were. Well, now your teams are getting less than what they were. So the cost savings to keep them at their best is well worth it.
Absolutely. And all of these tools that will apply at work apply at home.
Yeah.
And so I mean there is no losing, because if home life is solid and work life is solid or manageable through I have the tools to manage the ups and downs of work and home.
That's a compounding effect.
Yes.
If you create that great culture at work, that goes home. Now what a gift to your agencies and their families.
Yeah.
To give them those tools. It's really good.
Awesome. More on that probably later.
That's right.